Sha'ban. There's no night better. This is the second greatest in the calendar year of a Muslim believer. This is the fadila. So inshallah, in the short time that we have, if we were to go into every single fadila, we would spend the whole night talking about it and not be able to attain anything. So in the short time that we do have, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to attain and grasp some of the fadila of this night, some of the realities and secrets of this night, and without taking away from any of the adab we should have towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without taking away from any of the adab we should have Prophet Adam towards anything in our Sharia. The Mufassirin say to the extent that Allah subhanahu taught Adam the name of the action of passing wind. That's the extent of names Allah subhanahu taught Adam when He says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, every single thing. And so when we look to the names of this night that we find ourselves on, we see a qa'idah that the Imams mention of the religion. كَثْرَةُ الْأَسْمَاء تَدُلُّ عَلَى عَظْمَةِ الْمُسَمَّى. That the more names something has indicates the greatness of that thing. And so if you were to look at the greatest being to ever exist, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatest to ever exist, the greatest who will ever exist, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we were to ask ourselves how many names does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have, what would our answer be? How many names? 99? Everybody agree? Anyone disagree? 99 names to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Correct, but also incorrect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 99 famous names. Whoever memorizes them enters Jannah. But the ulama tell us, just as Allah has no beginning, His names have no beginning. Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is endless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names are also endless. An infinite amount of names to indicate the infinite amount of greatness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala possesses. And so if we were to look at the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the greatest created being to ever exist, Allah greatest full stop, uncreated. The greatest created being, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if we were to ask ourselves how many names does the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam have, we've said the more names you have, the greater you are. You find some that will say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will find some like the likes of Imam al-Jazuli in his Dalail al-Khayrat, a book which every single ummati has to own, and a book which every single ummati must take it upon himself to read a portion of every single day due to the benefits that are found within it. A book of salawat al Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In there, Imam al-Jazuli mentions 201 names of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You'll find some ulama who mention 300 names of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You'll even find some of the Ahl Sufiya who mention 1,000 names of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And some even go as far as to say, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infinite names, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also has infinite names. How? Every time you see Allah, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Abdullah. Every time you see Ar-Rahman, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Abdul Rahman. Every time you see Ar-Rahim, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Abdul Rahim. And so every single one of the infinite names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the slave of whichever name you choose to have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, the Quran, so mentioned 32, you have around 50, you have 90 names of the Quran. Likewise, Surah Fatiha, likewise the Day of Judgment. The greater the thing, the more names it has. Each of these names give a different dimension to that thing that you are talking about. And likewise, this night that we find ourselves on, the 15th night of Sha'ban, will give us some indications about the realities of this night. From the names of this day or this night. And by Allah, whether that is this year or next year or in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 1 year our names will be written on that scroll. And who are we to have the audacity to think that that isn't this year? Have we not experienced death enough in our communities to know that we can be taken at any moment? Do we think that we are far above being taken back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a moment when we don't expect it? Where has our audacity come that we think we will live forever, or we act like we will live forever? Our names tonight could have been given to the angel of death. And we might be thinking, the angel of death is given the scroll of whoever will die in the following year. Maybe that's the end of the year. I've got a full year to live still. But who are we again to have the audacity to procrastinate turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Like the wali from the Bani Israel, given 1,000 years to live by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He promises Allah, Ya Allah, for 500 of them years, I will party, I will do whatever I want. And then 500, I'll dedicate to you. 500 years go past, Ya Allah, I've got 500 left. 250 years, I will do whatever I want. 250 years, I will turn back to you. He has 100 years left. Ya Allah, 50 years, I will, do whatever I want, and 50 years I'll turn back to you, and so on and so on and so forth until he's only got 1 year left. Ya Allah, 1 year left, give me 6 months. I'll do whatever I want. 6 months, I'll turn back to you. 1 month left, Ya Allah, 30 days, 15, come on. Last 15 days of partying, and then 15 days I will tahajjud everything, sujood. I will spend the entire 15 days in your worship. 1 day left, Ya Allah, 24 hours, 12 hours in the day, Ya Allah, come on. Last time, let me do whatever I want, and then the last 12 hours I will turn to you. Until, as we can tell, what happens? He dies without ever turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot be of those who procrastinate thinking about our death and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of it. Laylatul Qisma wa Taqdeer. The ulama also mention another name of this night, Laylatul Ihya. You see the likes of Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, the teacher of Imam al-Bukhari, he quotes and he says that on this night it was seen by the ulama of the time that people tend not to die between Maghrib and Isha. And when he was asked why, he said, the Angel of Death is busy taking their scroll. So this is for those who maybe see in the hospitals or however many people die, they tend to see people between Maghrib and Isha don't die as often. Laylatul Ihya, the night of giving life. Now to the most famous names, one of them, Laylatul Ijabah, the night where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your dua. It is narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala mawqufan, meaning he said it not directly from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, خَمْسُ لَيَالٍ لَا يُرَدُّ فِيهِنَّ الدُّعَى. There are 5 nights wherein dua is not rejected whatsoever. He mentioned Laylatul Jumu'ah, the night of Friday, i.e. Thursday night, every single Thursday night. And for that reason, you will see gatherings of dhikr and gatherings of dua specifically on the Thursday night. He mentioned أَوَّلُ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ Rajab, the first night of Rajab which has fasters. He mentioned Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban, the 15th night of Sha'ban which we find ourselves on today. And he mentioned the 2 nights of Eid. Now it's upon us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us through this hadith and through many other hadith which have the same meaning, that Allah will give you whatever you want. If a millionaire, billionaire was to come to you and say, my money is yours for today, 24 hours, you do whatever you want with my money. Here's my card, buy whatever you want, no questions asked. How many things would we go out there? Our love of the dunya blinded us, leading us. How many things would we ask for from this billionaire, from this millionaire? What then for the one who owns the millions and billions of the world and much, much more? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He asks you, what do you want? How many of us are willing then to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It comes down to the question of how badly we want it. There's a famous story of a Chinese businessman who was known for how wealthy he was, and he was known for how successful his business was. And so this young man, this young entrepreneur, he wanted to learn business of him. He wanted to know what's the secret. And so he came to him and said, you're so good at business, I want to know your secret. So what did the man say? He says, come to the beach tomorrow, 9 a.m. in the morning, sharp, and I'll tell you my secret. So the man comes, 9 a.m. sharp, he sees this old businessman sitting on the shoreline, and he goes to him and says, I've come to learn this secret of yours. The man says, okay, come here, I want to see how long you can hold your breath. Put your head in the water, I want to see how long you can hold your breath. And so he comes, dunks his head in the water, 30 seconds have gone by, he's about to take his head out, and he's not used to holding his breath in the water. The old man puts his hand on his head and keeps it in the water even longer. Until a minute goes by, this guy, he feels like he's about to die, and then the old man lets him out. This guy's angry, I've come to learn business secrets of you, and you're nearly drowning me, you're nearly killing me in the ocean. What's up? The man said, no, don't worry, come back tomorrow and I'll teach you tomorrow. So he goes back the next day. Same time, same place, same thing. Hold your breath as long as you can. I want to see if you can hold it for longer. This time, 40 seconds go by, he's holding his breath. He's about to take his head out, the man grips his head again, keeps it underwater until the man feels like he's about to die, and then he lifts his head up. So what's going on? I want to learn the secrets of business and you are drowning me or killing me. Instead, you're trying to get rid of your competitors or something. So come back tomorrow, I'll teach you tomorrow what the secret of business is. So he comes back the next day, exact same thing, exact same time, exact same place, holds his head under water. The man's had enough. You've done this 3 times in a row, you nearly killed me, 3 days in a row. All I wanted from you was the secret of business. The old man replies, have you not learnt it yet? You need to want to be rich as badly as you wanted to breathe. As badly as you wanted to breathe while your head was underwater, that's as badly as you need to want to be rich. If you want to be rich as badly as that, then you'll be successful at business. And we as Muslims, business is good, but our business is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى تِجَارَةٍ تُنْجِيكُمْ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Our business is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saving us from the hellfire and entering us into Jannah. How badly do we want that business to be rich? How badly do we want the profit of the akhirah? Profit with the F. How badly do we want the wealth of the akhirah, where people on that day will be wealthy and people on that day will be poor. We do not want to be of those bankrupt on that day. Bankruptcy in this world might last for a few years and then we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bankruptcy in that world will never, ever, ever end. And so we want to be of those people who have our share, our dividends with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from this moment. We invest from this moment until when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us our return back from that investment. Of the names of this night as well, after Laylatul Ijaba, is Laylatul Takfir. Not takfir in the sense that we see nowadays on YouTube where he's a kafir. Laylatul Takfir, meaning the night where sins are forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have the likes of Imam al-Subki in his tafsir, he mentions that on Jumu'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of the entire week. On Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of the entire year. And on Laylatul Qadr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of an entire lifetime. Laylatul Takfir. Another name of this night, Laylatul Ghufran, the night of forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see the famous hadith of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha mentioned every single year on this night, where she couldn't find the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It was meant to be her night, the Prophet supposed to be in her room, yet when she looks into her room, she doesn't see the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And so she goes out searching for him sallallahu alayhi wasallam and finds him in Jannatul Baqi. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He places our grave and our final moments in Jannatul Baqi alongside the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Raised his head to the sky, and when he sees her, he says, "Oh Aisha, do you not know what this night is?" She says, "Allahu Rasuluhu a'lam." Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam know best. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, on this night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yanzilu ila sama'i dunya. He descends to the lowest heaven in a manner which befits Him with His mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فَيَغْفِرُ لِأَكْثَرَ مِنْ عَدَدِ شَعَرِ غَنَمِ كَلْبٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives on this night more than the number of hairs on the sheep of the tribe of Kalb. A tribe which was known for having many, many, many sheep. You couldn't even count the hairs on one sheep, let alone flocks and flocks and flocks of sheep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives more than the number of hairs on them sheep. And in another hadith we'll find the exception to this. إِلَّا مُشْرِكٌ وَلَا مُشَارِكٌ. Except the one who associates partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from ever associating any partners with Him. وَمُشَاهٍ, and the one who has rancor, hatred in his heart for another believer. And so we see every single year on this night again, the WhatsApp messages go out. Make sure you forgive me. If I've done anything wrong to you, please forgive me. And although this is good, removing hatred from our hearts is much deeper than a WhatsApp message. Many of us may have a boss or a colleague or a teacher, whatever you have at school or whatever you have, somebody who you just do not get along with in Islam. Not for the reason of Islam, but for the sake of your own nafs. There's some personal hatred that you have for them. This is the night where we remove that hatred, where we remove any dirt from our hearts, any of the ill feelings from our hearts. All we see for another believer is goodness, all we want is goodness from them. We remove all of our su'ul dhann, any of our bad opinions of our fellow Muslim brothers and our sisters. We start to implement all of the 70 odd excuses that we must have for our Muslim brothers and our sisters. We forgive them for everything they have ever done to us or will do to us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be forgiving of us on this day, on this night. Another exception that they mentioned, that the hadith mentioned, that the riwayat mentioned, is the one who cuts his family ties. The one who is disobedient to his parents. The one who harms his parents in any way, whether it's emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually even. The one who harms his parent, blocked from receiving the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this night. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not allow any of our actions to be blockages for His forgiveness subhanahu wa ta'ala on this night. As for how we should spend the night, of course making dua. As we've just mentioned, it is a night where du'as are accepted. If you really wanted to have something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making forgiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is another one which goes without saying. As we've just seen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives more than the hairs of the sheep of the tribe of Kalb. And also giving ihya to this night, giving life to this night through nawafil salah. As we see from the practice of the ulama and the imams, one of the main practices that they implemented was the salah of tasbih. Now we may think or we may hear that the salah of tasbih isn't specifically for this night, which is true. You won't find any riwayah of the Prophet on this night praying Salatul Tasbih. But why? We need to ask ourselves, do the Imams, do the ulama ever do anything which would go against the sunnah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Did the Imams of the past ever want to commit any bid'ah? Did they not know the ahadith which warn against a person who commits bid'ah? Of course they did. They knew it better than us, they knew the Arabic language better than us, they knew ahadith better than us. So why did they implement the Salah of Tasbih? We look through the hadith of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he teaches his beloved uncle Abbas radiallahu ta'ala and about his special prayer, the Salatul Tasbih. After explaining to him the method, the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says to him, if you did this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive every single one of your sins. The first of them, the last of them. Those which were hidden, those which were apparent. Those which you knew about, those which you didn't know about. Those which you did deliberately, and those which you didn't do deliberately. Those which are old, those things which we have been doing for years upon years upon years, and those which are new, those things which we've just started doing, Allah will forgive every single one of them. Abbas radiallahu ta'ala and the Prophet said, if you can do this salah daily, then do it. If you can't, then at least do it weekly. If you can't do it weekly, then at least do it monthly. If you can't do it monthly, at least do it once a year. And if you can't even do it once a year, then at least do it once in your lifetime. And so this opportunity of Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban was started. Why? So a person has the opportunity to pray the salah, which for the rest of the year doesn't even occur to many people to pray once a year, at least following this hadith of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for the immense benefit that this salah gives. How about visiting the graveyard? Although not a sunnah which is emphasized as such as the 2 rakats after Maghrib, it is still a sunnah of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The fact that the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did it once is enough for us to want to follow him. That we see the likes of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala, and even if the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took a certain path, the Prophet Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala would follow this path. Forget Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala himself, even if the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's camel took a certain path, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala would make sure his camel took the exact same path. And so once he entered upon the city, and before getting off his camel and tying his camel up, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he took his camel in a big, you could say U-turn or whatever, and then he got off his camel and tied his camel up. When the Sahaba watching him, when he got off, they asked him, Abdullah ibn Umar, why have you just gone in a random circle when you could have come in, got off your camel and tied your camel up? What did he say? Once I saw the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam enter upon his camel, and as animals do, the animal decided to go in a circle, so I wanted my camel to follow the exact circle that his camel took himself. That was the following the ittiba of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala. So the fact that the Prophet ﷺ went to the graveyard on this night is enough for us to want to follow in his footsteps and go to the graveyard. If you can't go to Baqi, then we can go to our local Pleasanton graveyard, isn't it? As for fasting the day, we see a riwayah in Ibn Majah rahimahullah, in which the Ali radiallahu ta'ala, he mentions, إِذَا كَانَتْ لَيْلَةَ النِّصْفِ مِنْ شَعْبَانِ, when it is the night of Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban, فَقُومُوا لَيْلَهَا, stand its night in prayer, وَصُومُوا نَهَارَهَا, and fast its day. Now although this hadith has a lot of kalam on it, no one will say there's no ikhtilaf whatsoever. You'll find some ulama who will say that it's not sunnah to fast on that day, and their opinion is completely fine. But you will also find some, for the likes of Imam al-Ramli in the Shafi'i school, who said that it is sunnah to fast the day after Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban. Now many of us may hear that we shouldn't fast. Why? Because it is a bid'ah. It goes against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. It wasn't a sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. If that was the true reason why we weren't fasting tomorrow, then that means we should be fasting on Mondays and Thursdays because there's no ikhtilaf there. It means that we should be fasting on the Ayyam al-Bid because there's no ikhtilaf there. But if we don't find ourselves fasting on them, then our excuse of it not being a sunnah is just an excuse from our nafs. It's just an excuse from our nafs who doesn't want to fast. It's a delusion from shaitan, and talbisul iblis. Delusions from shaitan. Shaitan tricking us into thinking the reason you don't want to fast is because it's a bid'ah. It goes against the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas in reality it's just because of our laziness. Otherwise we will be fasting Mondays and Thursdays, we will be fasting the 13th, 14th, 15th, we will be fasting Sha'ban itself. There was no other month which the Prophet ﷺ fasted more in, apart from Ramadan, which we have to fast all of, than Sha'ban itself. So even if we aren't going to fast, specifically because it is the day after Laylatul Nisf min Sha'ban, we should be fasting anyway because it's the 15th, and it is sunnah to fast on the 15th, the 13th, 14th and 15th of every month. We should also be fasting because it's Sha'ban anyway, and it is a month which the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, comes between Rajab and Ramadan, which are a month where people are usually heedless. Rajab comes, people start saying there's 2 months left to Ramadan, your energy starts going up. By the end of Rajab, our energy is down again. Until Ramadan comes, energy goes back up. It's a month where we are heedless, and so the Messenger ﷺ used to fast more in this month. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand the reality of this night that we find ourselves on, to use this night to the best of our abilities, to use this night in a way which will get us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not allow us to do anything which will take us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow and give us the tawfiq to act upon this night in such a way that will propel us and boost us to the Ramadan which is coming in a couple of weeks, such that the Ramadan we enter and act upon in such a way which boosts us until the next Ramadan, until daraja ba'da daraja ila al-kamal. Each Ramadan we improve and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, until that moment we meet the angel of death, and that day is coming, we can return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best shape we could ever return to Him. Our nafs can return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the purest state that it could ever return to Him, such that the angel of death says, Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'innah, and not any of the amara bis-su, or even the nafsul lawwama. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the tawfiq, wa akhiru da'wana, and alhamdulillah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم إنا نسألك من رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do those actions which bring us closer to you, and not to do those actions which take us away from you, Ya Allah. Give us the tawfiq to do those actions which bring us closer to your Habib al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and not those actions which turn us away from him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, don't allow us to be of those on Yawm al-Qiyamah who, when people are being given water, the Holy Kawthar, are turned away by the angels for the actions they committed in the world, Ya Allah. Make us of those who stand under the liwa al-hamd of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on that day. That we stand alongside the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on that day. That we are close to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on that day, such that we hear the words of hamd coming from his lips when he praises you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, allow us to enter Jannah alongside the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Make us beloved to him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and make the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam beloved to us, Ya Allah. Make us beloved to you, Ya Allah, and make yourself beloved to us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, don't take us to account for any mistakes we have made. Ya Allah, don't take us to account and forgive us for every sin that we have done in the past year, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, if our names have been given to the angel of death this year, then Ya Allah, don't allow him to take our souls unless you are pleased with us and we are pleased with you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, allow us to have a husnul khatima whenever that end comes for us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, give us a long life full of obedience to you and not full of disobedience to you, Ya Allah. Give us life as long as life is good for us, and give us death when death is good for us, Ya Allah. Allow us to answer those questions in the grave when that moment comes, Ya Allah. And give us thabat in that moment. Ya Allah, when we die, allow us to die with the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.